Kia ora, thank you. I did a little bit of a teaser earlier in the previous session just to kind of preface this talk, which is really, it's really hopefully going to be useful for a lot of people here who are interested in how do I apply some of this in my clinical teaching. And a lot of it's in fact useful for even if you're not a clinical teacher, but interested in just incorporating in Māori health content and teaching into your own work. So mostly what I'm going to focus on is a resource that we've developed and take you through that very briefly. I'm going to also try to leave some time for questions because I'm aware that there's probably going to be questions for all of us who have spoken. I've talked about this already, but I think it's really important to just quickly recap this context that students are learning about Māori health everywhere, and we want that to be positive learning and reinforcing the formal curriculum. I think it's particularly critical in clinical settings when students are, when they're in lectures, they are, maybe they do see the person in front of them speaking as an expert in their topic. When they're in clinical settings, they often look to those people as role models and look to them as people that they should be aspiring to be like. Maybe in some cases, and in other cases maybe not so much. But I think that experiential learning is very powerful. And so senior colleagues, all of us who are involved in teaching, really have a responsibility to not just be good role models, but also reinforce that in the way we're teaching and mentoring our students. Does that happen in practice? Unfortunately, the outcomes are not so good. This is only data from the medical program, so there's a bit of a caveat here. But we did a survey a few years ago of our students and asked them whether they thought that clinical supervisors helped to facilitate their learning of Māori health. Majority disagreed with that statement, which is, not so good. The interesting thing is that clinical teachers themselves provided some responses that were kind of consistent with that, and that they didn't feel prepared either to teach students about Māori health. A lot disagreed with that statement, and also, in particular, didn't really feel well prepared to assess students, didn't really know what they were supposed to be assessing. And so this is really not to say, isn't that terrible? Clinical teachers aren't helping to support this area of the curriculum. This is to say, it's completely normal if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, well, how do I go about, incorporating this into my practice, incorporating some teaching and assessment of Māori health. And it's something that we recognise as a big issue and something that we wanted to do something about. So we've developed a resource for, it's aimed primarily at clinical teachers, but it's potentially useful for everyone else. And I'm going to quickly look at the live site, and I've got the link down the bottom there for you for anyone who's a quick writer and can write that down before I click off this slide. But I'll just take you through and show you a few of the things that are in there. It's got some interesting videos. I can see Rochelle up the back cringing away. As I promise not to play that video, Rochelle. Let's just go straight there. We can afterwards send you out the link to the site, and you can have a look at it and go through at your own leisure. Now, hopefully this will work. So, as I said, this site's been designed really for clinical teachers primarily, but it's also useful for students or anyone else who's wanting to find out about what the Māori health curriculum's all about, maybe how they can incorporate some of this. So it's got a start page here, which has got a wee spiel by me, pretty much just going through some of the stuff I talked about this morning about the positioning of Hauora Māori, what we're trying to achieve, and why it's important that everyone sees it as their business and is supporting that. Then it's kind of broken down into 3 different sections. So if you're still on the why the heck do we have a Māori health curriculum, if you're still at that sort of stage, kei te pai, that's fine. But you can go in there and let's just do that. And it's got covering some of the material that I talked about this morning, but also some sort of frequently asked questions about, the sorts of things that we hear. Why is there a need for Māori health? Aren't we basically all the same? What about other ethnic groups? Some of them have poor health as well. Shouldn't we be focusing on actually better doctors and better health professionals rather than this cultural education? So it helps to kind of debunk some of those misconceptions or answer some of those questions. Maybe it would be good to deconstruct some of them, but maybe that's something we could do in future. So anyway, and it also provides an opportunity if you have other questions that maybe you've always wanted to ask, that you can submit those as well, and they'll come through to us. So that's part one, which is really, I want to actually convince myself that this area of the curriculum is necessary, and why do we even have it? This next part is really more for people who are I just want to get into the guts of it. I want to know, how do I teach and assess my students who I, get for a few weeks on a clinical placement, maybe don't have all that much to do with. How on earth am I going to assess them in this Māori health domain when I'm really struggling to know what it means, and how are my students going to demonstrate that they're achieving in this domain? So it is very focused on the medical program, this resource, but this is something that we can potentially adapt for other programs and other contexts as well. So it goes through the 3 different criteria that we use in a clinical supervisor report form, and I won't go through each of these, but for each of them it provides a bit more detail about what do we mean by critical reflection, what are some of the criteria or kind of things that we might be looking for, and then some examples of how students might go about demonstrating them. And then just to provide a kind of a bit more of a deeper understanding about what we might be talking about, we have a couple of videos. So admittedly, it's a very small sample of the kinds of things students might do to demonstrate these competencies, but it's an idea of, what would a good performance look like, or an excellent, and what would a really not so good performance look like. And then after each of those videos, we have some sort of teaching points about, well, why was this one good and why was this one pretty dodgy. So we've got those for each of those different areas. And what that helps to do, I think, is take these concepts that are sort of cultural safety, and everyone goes, what on earth does cultural safety mean? How would I know it when I see it? Tries to break it down into things that, you can kind of more readily put your finger on. Okay, so that's the section for people who just want the quick and dirty. I want to know how to teach my students that I'm seeing on clinical placements. Then we've got actually this has kind of whetted my appetite. I want to find out a little bit more about Māori health. Paparangi's laughing. Yes, there might be those unusual few of you who want to go further. So this provides just more in-depth information about the Māori health curriculum, again focused on the medical program, but what we have in here is then a sort of outline of the various key components of Māori health teaching within our medical program, and then for each of these, like Elena's already talked about, Māori Health Intensive, you can click on that and it'll take you to the MHI site, which has all the stuff, all the presentations, resources, information about the sessions there. It's more been set up for students, but potentially useful for other people to see, what are my students getting. Okay, so there are some other resources there. There's also I should also mention, a discussion forum. So this might be a place where we can share ideas and kind of take things further in terms of, I'm having a problem in a certain area, what do I do about this? And there's also some feedback. This site's kind of just being newly launched, and so we're interested in, it is a bit of a work in progress. We're interested in your feedback on those of you who are interested in using it. What could we do to improve it? Okay, I'm not going to say anything too much more about that, but just really wanted to introduce you to that. We'll be trying to promote it in amongst the faculty and wider out into clinical teachers over the next little while, so that everyone has an opportunity to use it. So kia ora, thank you very much.
Any questions of clarification for Reese about this, and then we'll just get the presenters up and we'll have a 10 minutes of question and answer. Tani.
Can we GPs get access to that? That's where people mostly live nowadays.
Good, very good question. Yes, so it is behind a login, and you have to have a login and password to get into it. So any University of Auckland staff or student can get in, but you can also get in if you're not a University of Auckland staff or student. You just need to sign up for an account. So when you click on that link, you get taken to a login page and you just have to create a new account. Okay.
Okay, can I have the other presenters come and we'll have some questions.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Tanya Crompton. I work as a geriatrician at Middlemore Hospital. It's with great delight that I've come to attend this today. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely things have progressed since I was at medical school, and it did definitely bring some baggage for me. The Māori Health Week that I experienced as a MAPAS student was probably the best experience and the worst experience. Best from the point of view that it was something about me and my whānau to empower others in my class, but it was also the worst experience from the point of view of the confrontation and the underlying racism that we had in our class. So it saddens me that that still seems to permeate. My comment is really about giving mana to the program, and it disturbs me that the teaching is in these holidays, or the students just don't. I think it devalues what you're doing, and I think if the faculty truly believes in what is happening, then they should recognise it and give the program mana by including it in the normal curriculum time. I can understand that the curriculum's big and fitting everything in is difficult, but I also believe that if you truly believe that this is fundamental to people developing as clinicians, then it should be given a slot that identifies that it's important and fundamental for all of us. And I don't believe that it's impossible. I believe anything can happen. If you choose to have that slot, then so be it. All power to you. But I do wonder if you're really asking that the faculty recognises it, then that should be given mana and be given a proper place to empower the students and the MAPAS students. I know that there are a few here. Well, they used to be MAPAS students, but I think it's a really difficult set of sessions to come to as a Māori or PI or whatever, because there's still that permeation throughout the student body, and that's hard to deal with.
Kia ora for that, Tanya. Just one comment on that. I think that one of the issues, particularly with MHI, is that it's interprofessional, and so trying to find a block of a week which each program can do. It's not just trying to find space in one curriculum, it's trying to find one that lines up with all three. Was very challenging, and hopefully it has kind of become a little bit institutionalised as that's not a holiday anymore, but obviously we still have some of that baggage.
Hi, I just had a question for the last two speakers, or the last three because of the way it was. To do with, like, one of the student feedback would be great if the clinicians had the teaching we were taught. And then, Reese, you were talking about that sort of non-disjunction occurring where people the clinicians didn't feel empowered, didn't feel knowledgeable, didn't feel able to teach. But clinicians, don't they do, I'm not a clinician, I'm a researcher, so they do professional development, right? Can this be included as part of their professional development points, that if they did, or do they do that already?
It's a good question. I mean, I think, I don't want to get into the sort of technical issues around, we could accredit this as something that clinicians can do towards, cultural competence or professional development. So, I would very much see that as potentially a way of helping helping people who are busy in their daily lives to actually see the importance of this. Yeah.
Kia ora, John Shaw from the pharmacy program. I think it's been a fantastic morning and really feel privileged to have been part of it. My question is around some of the terminology. We in pharmacy are going through a curriculum review. We're trying really hard to align ourselves to the principles you've described today. We've got into a little bit of trouble with the language. So the difference, for example, between inequity and inequality, and is that I even see it today used interchangeably in your presentations, and I'm not sure I understand each of those terms separately, and whether I need to, or is it really a concept that we're talking about?
The terms are used interchangeably: disparities, inequalities, and inequity. Disparity just means different. Inequality means unequal, and inequity means unjust. So usually we mean inequity, but we do use the terms interchangeably. I use the example in stage 1 of women get cervical cancer and men get prostate cancer. That's unequal. It's an inequality, but it's not an inequity. So the correct terminology is inequity, but we do it culturally in New Zealand. We use them interchangeably.
Simon Raleigh. It's been a great morning. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm still left with the feeling that, say I reflect more and I think more about my practice and try and incorporate some of the thinking you've talked about into how I think. I'm not sure how that's going to, is that just going to automatically mean that I will practice differently? I'm just trying to see how you then translate that into what you might be doing in practice.
Yeah, that's a good question, and probably a topic for a whole other session. But yeah, I think that one of the things is that, yeah, obviously just by consciously thinking about some of these things in your practice, you can start to make changes. I think some of it needs to be really reinforced, though, through other processes. Like one of the things I think in terms of clinicians who are engaged in professional development and sort of peer review, I think we could use those processes much more to critique each other around cultural competence, around Māori health, how we're addressing those things, as well as having some processes by which you're kind of monitoring your practice, monitoring outcomes by ethnicity, by other factors to kind of check on whether you're doing those things. So I think one of the problems is that you can go away from something like this with the best intentions, and then you kind of get swamped with the day-to-day stuff, and it's very hard to kind of make that explicit change. But so I think we need other processes to kind of help us monitor ourselves and keep those things in check and make sure that we're continually developing and improving. I don't know if that answers it.
I think it's just worth picking up on that point a bit too, because I mean, Professor Weary was challenging us at the very beginning of the day about those questions. But I guess this is the Faculty of Medical Health Sciences, part of the University of Auckland. I guess what you've demonstrated today is that the amount of energy that's been put into teaching very good students, whether they're coming out of the medical program, the pharmacy program, and or the nursing program. I guess, yes, we are all concerned that we send out very good students who are trained, well educated in these ways, and they hit the real world and find that what they're doing is not valued by professions. But I don't think that the university can take a leadership role and try and make it happen. But I don't think it's actually our responsibility. There are professional bodies out there who should be responsible for making sure that their members and the people they register practice in ways to actually improve New Zealand's health and Māori people's health. So I guess we have a role to play, but actually I think the challenge is actually to some of those professional organisations who register health professionals to take up some of those points that have been made by clinicians.
It's a really good point to make. The thing is that you're saying that you actually provide a quality program. You cannot have a quality program that includes equity. Doesn't matter what level you are, obviously. But as a clinician myself, I ask, do I actually provide a high quality practice which also addresses equity? Unless you measure what you're doing and actually putting the lens on, you get nowhere. You just have this feel good, yes, I'm a good person, so therefore I do a good job. And I think that was the point that Chris was trying to get. It was about how do we actually ask those questions on a daily basis as a profession to actually address them.
Kia ora. As an ex-MAPAS student, I'm a bit sad that racism is still going on for the current MAPAS students. And can't we do something about that? It's probably the university's responsibility to sort that out and somehow celebrate the fact that we're actually not C-grade doctors and that we're actually quite good doctors. I don't know, something like that. And that we actually go on, a lot of us, I mean, I'm privileged to only work in Māori health, and I think just to highlight the fact that having the MAPAS scheme is important and we need to keep it going and celebrate it as a good thing rather than something we don't really want to talk about. Sorry. Yeah, so let's save the pain for the current MAPAS students of all the racism they're experiencing by highlighting and celebrating the successes of the MAPAS doctors who've gone through in the past. And we're not C-grade doctors, by the way.
Thanks, Nina. I would just say that we do probably quite a little bit of work with the MAPAS cohort around our theory and our discourse behind why we have MAPAS. We've been involved in the recent I2M Auckland campaign that came from Māori and Pacific students and their experiences of racism at this university. We have sessions with the students, we talk to them at cohort lunches, we celebrate the success of MAPAS completion ceremonies, and the cohort's now nearly about 20-25% of the medical intake, and less so in nursing and pharmacy and optometry, but that shift in itself to have more brown faces sitting around you is also really key. But you know, society's racist and still is, and we're still going to have those experiences until we change that.
Just in terms of getting started with life, most of us clinicians and many of the clinicians of the faculty are also part of this for the PhD clinical teams, myself included, have been doing it 55 years. So, you know, I still feel I'm absolutely at the beginning of all this. But that's where I find that Ministry of Health Equity framework extremely useful. And, so as a place to start, and I've already taken it to my clinical team. It's now about 6 months ago, I can say, and we just started to fill it in. Not about like things off. No, I know, but it's just recorded. No, it's just one of the notes. I'm pushing it up. Okay, sorry. So Māori Health Equity Framework is something you can take straight away to your clinical team, and we just did filling out boxes for us as health practitioners. And then we didn't get up to the health organisation or the health system. But just doing that, and then once I got it put into a Word document myself, so you can sort of fill in the gaps, fill in the box and see, well, how are we doing, what are we doing in that area as individuals or as a team. And I think it's a good place to start. And I think this journey is started to go bottom up, top down, it's all through, it's all through everything we do in health, the whole lot. We're going to be with all levels. And to take the next step individually or go with a team or something, and this is going to change over decades, but it's changing now already. It's great. We've got a great much greater awareness and change attitudes. Now we're talking about changing our behaviours, and it's a long journey, and we're on it. It's great.
My name is Julia Slark, I'm from nursing. This has just been a fantastic morning, and I think you've given us lots of tools that we can take back to our teaching. I suppose you can tell I'm from England. And I suppose I feel pressure on who are the right people to teach this. And, I think you're making such a good job of it. You're going to give yourselves even more work to do, I think. Because I think, how do we actually teach in practice, especially when you've got people like me who don't feel well armed to do it properly? So, advice?
I think it's, like Innes was saying, you've just got to start somewhere, and even just taking small steps and, coming to things like this and taking advantage of other professional development opportunities, hopefully, visiting the site here and trying to learn more that way. And then, and also identifying your peers who can help support you in that, who may be a little bit further along the journey. I think all those things are really important. But I do want to pick up on the points that have been made that I think it's really important that we have some institutional support for that as well. That I know it is challenging to kind of do a whole lot of this off your own bat, and so we do need leaders who are requiring this of staff. I mean, we need colleges who are requiring this of their fellows and members, and for that to all be supported right throughout the system, and for funders to require this of the services that they're funding, to actually demonstrate equity and how they're working towards that. So I think it's a multi-pronged kind of things that are going to come from different directions, but just have to start somewhere and incrementally build up.
Hi, my name's Dr. Liza Lack, and I'm the National Clinical Lead of the General Practice Education Programme. And I wanted to say a big thank you because you did extend invitations to our members who then approached the college for assistance with coming here. And I think that what you've done is outstanding, top class education. It's been a real privilege to be here this morning, and I'd encourage you to use that route via the colleges as well. I feel really proud that we're here today, and I think other colleges should be here too. So thank you very much.
Ka pai.
All right, thank you everyone. It's back to me to wrap us up. So really just quickly, because I know there's a barbecue happening out there and probably a lot of you are keen to get out there. For those of you who are staying on for we've got a separate sort of afternoon workshop happening for some invited people amongst us. Those of you who are doing that, we will have lunch in the same place that we had morning tea. But for everyone else, there's a great barbecue happening out there. Hopefully, the morning session has given us some general sense about the Māori health curriculum, but also we tried to pick out a few kind of interesting case studies or examples of how we're doing that in our teaching, just to give some more concrete ideas. So hopefully that's helped and given you at least a way into some of this and hopefully a pathway forward. Definitely encourage you to be agents of change and go out there and start infecting others, hopefully, in the right way. Just before I finish, just did want to acknowledge a couple of people at least, particularly to acknowledge Wayne and Gulai, who've been involved behind the scenes and setting all this up. To thank Mark, our Associate Dean Education, who invited me to put forward a proposal to do this showcase. Yes, thanks, Mark. And also to all our presenters who have presented this morning. Kia ora. And I do just want to acknowledge, yes, those people who have come from all over the place and travelled to be here today to help support our teaching, and of course the college for supporting that. That's awesome. Kia ora, Terina. So kia ora to you guys. Okay, and I'll just quickly wrap us up with a karakia for this bit, and then I can hear Tommy's rumbling, so we better get moving after that. Kia ora tātou. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga a te mea ngaro ki runga ki tēnā o tātou. Kia mahi atu hua makikiki, kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te aroha, toi te reo Māori, kia tūturu ka whakamaua, kia tīna, haumie hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora.